What's up, fight fans? Welcome to another edition of Warriors Edge Boxing 101 podcast with your host, LT, on the wheels of steel. That's right, folks. This is your host, Luis Trevino, here from Warriors Edge Boxing Facility, as raw as it gets from a boxing gym. That's right, and folks, you might be wondering, all my fans out there, why are we doing it on a Tuesday? Well, we couldn't do it on a Thursday. You know, I work. I have another job and a real job, right? But, hey, man, it's early in the week to talk boxing. Right after our interviews tonight, we'll be talking about boxing, the upcoming big professional weekend on TV. The Zone is going to have some outstanding fights, so we'll be talking about those fights. It's 16 de septiembre, folks. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, 16 de septiembre, Jaime Munguia will be on the card on The Zone. It used to be Canelo, but what happened to Canelo, right? Well, what happened to Canelo, right? So we're going to be talking about that as well. But first, guys, I'm going to introduce you to my guest this evening. We got none other than the widow of the great, late Johnny Tapia, also known as Mi Vida Loca. So we're going to bienvenido a ella. Thanks for being on the show. And she's here, folks, to talk about a big show that we got coming up, the Southwest Explosion, October 5th and 6th from the Vado, New Mexico Speedway Park in Vado, New Mexico. And folks, if you've never been out to see that racetrack, what a beautiful installation, what a beautiful venue to have racing here in the Southwest. El Paso, Las Cruces, Vado, Albuquerque, everybody can join, everybody can go see it. Just making a night out there to go see that racetrack. They've done an amazing job with it. And with that, first to talk about details about the track, about the event that's going to happen, is the general manager, Rue Stone, on the show. Rue, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it, bud. Thanks for coming down to Warriors Edge Boxing. Kind of out of your element, right?
No, actually...
you like boxing?
Yeah, I grew up in Phoenix, and I actually went to school at the Carver Hall, so boxing's... I never fought or anything outside of being in the neighborhood, but
so
I know
you're a fighter.
Yeah.
What about the Carver Halls? Tell me about the Carver Halls.
Well, actually, they lived behind us in Phoenix, and Danny and Michael would train in the backyard, and you know they didn't have a nice facility like you, and they had cardboard boxes around so nobody could see in the backyard.
Yeah.
And you could just hear them back there sparring and hitting each other, bam, and it was kind of cool growing up watching them guys fight.
That's cool, man. Yeah, man. So I mean, so you still watch boxing right now?
Yeah, I watch a little bit. I mean, it's not like it was when I was in the 80s, you know, watching Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns and all those guys. It's changed a little bit, but, you know, because I guess there's politics behind the closed doors. But I think it's pretty good, you know, for the up-and-coming kids to stay off of drugs and, you know, do a little bit of fighting.
Okay, so you mentioned it's not as before. What do you mean that not as before?
I mean, it's kind of like the NFL and NBA. You knew who the players were growing up.
Yeah. Like
in our area, I'm sure you're probably my age.
Okay.
Same thing with boxing. You knew who everybody was.
Yeah.
Just like Johnny Tapia. I mean, anybody, if you say Johnny Tapia, you know who he is.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not before, right?
Yeah. If you mention a boxer from, say, in this area, you know Antonio Escalante, you know who he is. But now, in some of the fighting that you watch on TV, it's all these different guys. Same thing with, like I said, about football and basketball and baseball. You knew who Ryan Sandberg was. You knew who Andre Dawson was, Barry Bonds, or whatever. It's kind of like now in baseball, you don't know half of these guys because the older generation kind of falls off and lets the younger kids come up.
Right. And then, you know what? It also doesn't help that there's so many politics in boxing now, and there's so many live stream that you can see boxing. Remember the good old days? It was USA Network Thursday Night Fights, ESPN Friday Night Fights, and then we look forward for HBO Boxing. That was awesome, man. Jim Lampley and all those commentators. I miss all that, and you're right. I mean, it's not as like before.
It's kind of like with us in the racing business. We used to have Thursday Night Thunder on ESPN. Remember that?
Yeah,
Saturday Night Thunder.
The World of Outlaws.
The World of Outlaws. They'll be here at the Vado Speedway Park. We ran them 2014 at the El Paso Speedway Park.
Love them.
And we had standing room only.
Wow, man. So, Rue, talking about the Speedway Park, tell us a little bit about the park. Tell us about what is the park. Tell us. People don't know. You know, I got a lot of fans that are boxing fans. They don't even know we have a racetrack.
Well, you know, we had the racetrack about 4 miles east of here off of Cragg in Montana. In 2016, we were just getting hounded by all the ordinances and stuff like that around the El Paso Speedway Park. And me and Royal decided, you know what? It's time for a change. So when we were driving back and forth from Las Cruces over here on a Friday night, I was just telling Teresa how I would do it and come back and forth. And
wow.
You know, I lived in Las Cruces, but I ran the racetrack over here and the Southern New Mexico Speedway. I ran both racetracks.
Of them.
Yeah. And, you know, coming over here at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd work until 10, 11 o'clock at night, getting the track prepped and ready and stuff for Friday night. And then I'd have to haul back to Las Cruces.
Because it was that following night,
yes,
right?
And I had hotel bills and stuff like that. It was just getting old. But we decided that we needed a change. So we built a state-of-the-art facility, Royal Jones, that owns Mesilla Valley Transportation. Built this facility. We thought we could do it for $1.5 million, and we surpassed that probably by 6 or 7.
Was that the delay of opening day?
Yeah, it's just, you know, all the stuff you have to do when opening up a new facility. You got to get all these insurances and permits and stuff like that. And we're still not 100% ready, but we still have the racetrack open, and our intentions are that we're going to have all kind of events. So this is our biggest event that we're trying to put on, and hopefully it's a success, is the Johnny Tapia Invitational Southwest Explosion.
Tell us about it.
October 5th and 6th. I mean, Teresa and I and our staff, our marketing team at MVT is trying to put this big show on, and I think it's going to be a huge success because Teresa's got a lot of big guys coming, good fighters, actors, no LG's coming, Darius McCrary's coming, and we have an MMA fighter that's going to fight.
Randy McCarty?
Yeah, Randy McCarty. And we have a nice facility now. Women can come in high heel shoes. Grandmas can come with their walkers. I mean, it's all catered to family. And you've been there yourself.
Yeah, you know, let me tell you something, Ro, about your facility. 2 things real quick. The venue. You know, for you guys to host it, for Ms. Tapia to come out here, we have a problem with venues here in El Paso because they want to charge us an arm and a leg. So I thank you for coming out here, man, and putting a show there. And then number 2, it's family oriented. You know, it's reasonable prices, folks. And I tell that to everybody. I asked for an adult beverage last time, and I was like, "What? Are you serious? It's only how much? What? It's not $10 like other venues. Am I right? $9 at the Coliseum or whatever." Exactly. But yeah, you know what? It's a very family oriented environment, and it's security. It's secured. I like the presence of the police force, not because I'm law enforcement, but I like the presence of the police force.
Yeah, you have to have them with everything going on, and in this country right now. But we target the family, and that's what we're trying to do. You know, we're gonna have concerts and stuff like that.
Good, man.
And we want this to be a huge success, to keep carrying the Johnny Tapia name. I never knew the man, but his wife, she's pretty tough.
Yeah, Johnny, we're big fans. When I started talking to her, I was like, "God, I can't believe you even talking to me." I mean, Johnny Tapia was as his life was so I don't want to say kind of tragic, Miss Tapia. I don't know, tragic or hard. Everybody here in this world is here for something, and he touched so many lives. Even out now that he's not here with us no more, he's in every gym because everybody knows this guy. You know what I mean? So
and the thing about Johnny, and like I read some of his stories, and Teresa's got a book that's coming out, and
awesome book,
and and the internet stuff. But there's a lot of guys that say that they're fighters. He was a real champion.
Yeah.
He was a real fighter. You can go to Virginia and ask if you ever saw Johnny Tapia fight. They know who you're talking about.
Yeah, 2-time world champion.
Exactly.
So, Rue, tell us more about the event that you have in front of you there.
Yeah, we're gonna have of course, the boxing on Saturday and Sunday, but we got a bunch of lowrider car shows going to happen on Sunday. We got music and all the actors coming. And the thing about it, it's cheap for you and your family to come. It's only $15.
Wow.
To come in, and plus our beer is going to be $4 and $5 a beer, so you can enjoy yourself. The gates are going to open at 11 o'clock on Saturday, and it's going to be an all-day party. I mean, we're going to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I mean, you can check out our website at www.vadospeedwaypark.com. or like us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and check out this stuff, or follow the Johnny Tapia Facebook page because all the information's on there as well.
Good. And folks, we just posted the Southwest Explosion. It's on the screen already if you can see it. It's a 2-day mega event, the Southwest Explosion. Johnny Tapia, Southwest Invitational at Vado, New Mexico Speedway. Folks, get ready to rumble. This is going to be the show. This is the show of shows for boxing. But one question I have for you, how did the racing come about with boxing? I was surprised when I saw it. I was like, what? Where are they going to have the boxing ring?
Well, you know, Teresa
Are you going to have to dig and make holes? Are they going to put you to work?
No.
Jesus
I
Christ,
I get to ride on my quad still.
I always see you riding on that when I go to the races. Now I know you. Now I can say, I know that guy, man.
So what we're going to do is on the bottom of the front straightaway next to the wall there, at the very bottom where our victory lane is where the ring's going to be. Then we're going to have 675 reserve seats down there for the pro bouts on Saturday, and those are different special pricing. And you can, like I said, you can look up our website and get all that ticket information. Tickets are on sale now, or you can listen to you guys, and then KLAQ is going to be promoting the show and stuff like that. But it's going to be neat. Then of course we have 4,000 seats up in the main grandstands that we're going to try to sell out, and then we got a grass hill, and then we got suites and all that good stuff. And we're going to have a bunch of new food. Our concession stand is finally going to be open next weekend.
Awesome.
On the 21st, so we'll be ready to go there. And of course we're going to have different vendors, and of course a bunch of ice cold beverages for all the people over 21 to drink. Yeah, right. Good. And you mentioned something important, Rue. It's a family event. Yeah, we're going to have good security there. We're going to have the Anthony Police Department's going to be there protecting us and stuff like that, and some state police officers. But I want everybody to come out and enjoy this, from the El Paso, from Fabens, from Clint, everybody from out here in El Paso. Let's show how good of a community we really are, and keep El Paso strong. Yeah, and you know what? We need more shows. So we want to thank the city of Vado, New Mexico, and you guys, man. You guys are awesome, man. It's a big risk, but you know, we have confidence in Teresa, and she's been working. She even moved down from Albuquerque for a month and a half, and you know, hanging out here and trying to promote this deal, and it's going to be good. Good, man. Rue, any last things, any more details? And Rue's the one that's the general manager, so he's pretty much moving all those bells and whistles behind the scenes. So I know, it takes a lot, right, Rue? People don't see. People just sit down and see the show. But me as also a promoter, and I've seen what it takes to put a show together, man. Yeah, you gotta be groomed up, and you know, you gotta make sure you get your hair cut at Sport Clips and come to the races and looking good, because you got to always have a smile. It's like going to Disneyland when you walk into our place. Got a question for you. Can people bring in chairs for a tent? No, they can bring in no tents, no chairs, no outside beverages, because when you walk into our facility, it's like walking into a bar with the New Mexico logs. Okay. All right, what else, Rube, before we send you off, man? I just want everybody to come on and enjoy and have a good time, a good weekend, October 5th and 6th at the Johnny Tapia Invitational. Good. Southwest Explosion, the first annual Johnny Tapia boxing. You want to say hello to any of your friends, man, at the race? I know you know Brandon. Yeah, if Brandon's listening, hope to see you this weekend in a non-wing sprint car, Mr. Brandon shirt. Yeah, you know, we go out there and we help him a little bit. We have our logo of our gym in his race car. Yeah, I saw it. We go out there and it's fun, man. Just that. So, and I want to challenge somebody if they're listening. All right. If he wants to get in there for a heavyweight fight, I want to challenge Mr. David Rodriguez. Well, this is his trainer right here. Well, David will be here Thursday. Yeah. Here training, right? Yeah. Well, maybe we get the ladies and gentlemen, the main event of the evening. Este es el combate estelar de la noche. You have a nickname? I know where his weak spot is. What's his weak spot? I have to tell you off the radio. Do you have a nickname? Huh? Rue what? Big Daddy. Oh my God, Rue Big Daddy Stone. I like that, folks. We'll send you off, Rue. Thank you, Rue, for being on the show. We're gonna take a 1 minute break, and we'll be right back with Web Podcast 101.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, folks, we are back to the Wet Podcast 101. That was a great interview with Mr. Rue Stone, General Manager of the Vado Speedway Park. And now with us is Ms. Teresa Tapia. But first, guys, I just want to make an announcement real quick before we go on the live chat. And we're live already on YouTube, but before we go on live chat, Team USA, folks, puts a dominant performance the second day in Poland at the Women's Championship. Let me tell you one thing, man. Two-time Junior Open champion Kayla Gomez from El Paso, Texas, right, started the day off for the Americans by causing the referee to stop the bout in the first round against Poland's own Julia Bowaska, right? So these kids out there are doing a great job, man. So, hey, look, man, El Paso being represented in Poland. Kayla, when you come down, maybe you can come down to the Southwest Explosion and we can announce you out there, man. It'll be great to have you. These girls are awesome in Poland, representing Team USA. Priscilla Medina from Los Angeles, from Rhode Island, Sierra Martinez, Ruby Navarro from Mission, Texas, Plainfield, New Jersey, Michelle Elliott, and Patrice Sherry Marie Patricia from Hawaii. So a big shout out already in Poland for Team USA at the Women's Championship. And now, folks, without further ado, Miss Teresa Tapia on the show. Glad to have you, Miss Tapia. Welcome to the Warrior's Edge.
Thank you for having me. Team Kayla.
All right, Team Kayla, right? Miss Tapia, again, thanks for making the trip from Albuquerque. I know you're visiting the area, and you're a frequent flyer in the area, and you're visiting because you have the big show coming up, right?
Yes, that's
and
correct.
This is the Southwest Explosion first annual Johnny Tapia Boxing Invitational. So, Ms. Tapia, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do now.
I was actually born in Albuquerque, raised in California, and I have a home health care company, and I'm still actively promoting.
You're actively promoting boxing.
Yes.
Wow, and what is your boxing promotions company called?
Johnny Tapia Presents.
Johnny Tapia Presents. That's pretty cool. So, do you live in Albuquerque?
I do now, yes.
You live in Albuquerque?
Well, Las Cruces, currently.
Las Cruces
Yes.
is your home?
Now it is,
It's
yes.
a beautiful city, huh?
It is, it really
It is. Good people out there, man. I like Las Cruces. Are you part of any amateur boxing scene in your city? Are you part of the amateur show?
We actually are having USA Boxing, Golden Glove Boxing, sponsored by WBC for the amateur part,
For this show?
for this show, yes.
Wow, okay. And you are part of an amateur scene. When I mean amateur, because you own a gym, right?
I do.
And what is the gym called?
Team Tapia Boxing and Academy.
And how's that going for you?
It's actually, I just did a soft opening, and it's just more than we can handle right now, so I'm very happy about that. This is a tradition we wanted to continue because this is what Johnny always wanted.
Johnny wanted a gym all the time?
He had one.
He had one?
Yes, during the time of his passing, we did have a gym.
And you know what, man? Johnny was. A lot of people didn't know about that because he looked rough, but he was actually kind-hearted, right, Mr.
Yes, he was very rough, but he was also very kind-hearted.
Why? So you're involved in promotion. So can you tell us what was it like to be married to Johnny Tapia?
A never-ending roller coaster.
A never-ending roller coaster. Can you elaborate?
I guess it's safe to do so now. He's not here. He can't get in trouble.
Well, you never know. After life, not just kidding.
Yeah, you know what? He haunts me anyway, and I don't let him rest in peace. So we're a match made in heaven and hell. That's what I used to say when he was alive. But you know, there was just a lot of stuff. Like I remember, it's going to be coming out now. He has a book coming out. We just signed a movie deal, and you know, one of the very first parts of the book, it talks about my first date with Johnny and my marriage with Johnny, our very first date, our honeymoon. He actually died on me, and we ended up so not even 24 hours after marrying him, I was told I needed to go identify his body because he had passed away from a drug overdose. That was my first day of being Miss Johnny Tapia.
So he passed away from a drug overdose?
That's what they said. And then I get to the hospital, and I'm in shock. I'm
Of course.
crying my heart out, and I'm going down, and I'll never forget it. I'm walking down this long hospital corridor, and I don't even know what to think. I'm in shock, and I see this guy running past me with this hospital gown and his butt cheeks flapping, and it's Johnny. And I'm like, what the heck,
It's Johnny?
Yeah, so I'm like, what? I thought, you know what I mean? This was our wedding night, or our wedding morning, I guess you would call it. And police were chasing him, security was chasing him, and then I get into the car with my mom, and we're driving. I'm going up Lomas Boulevard, and there's Johnny running up up the street, trying to get away from police. Jumps in the car, and that was the first time. That was the first actual day of being married to him, and it was like that for the next 20 years.
Where did you meet Johnny at?
I actually met him at a barbecue, and he was sitting on top of a kitchen counter, and I'll never forget it. I walked in, and he was like the life of the party. Even back then, he demanded attention. I remember him sitting there, and I walked in, and he was trying to flirt with me and trying to get my attention. I just didn't like him. I thought he was just a weird guy, and he, everybody was teasing him because you know how guys are. They're like, oh, Johnny, you're not going to get this one. And, we joked about it when he was alive. He would always say, tell him, babe, how did I get you? And I was like, you were stalker status. You never left me alone.
Stalker, right?
He was a stalker. He got what he wanted.
Did you know he was a boxer already?
No. Didn't know he was a boxer. Didn't know he had a problem with drugs. I just liked the fact that he was a funny guy.
So from an early, how old was he?
At that time, he was 25 and I was 20.
So at that time, he already had a problem with drugs?
He did. He had already been thrown out of boxing. He had been exiled, I should say. I didn't know him, so I didn't know. I was raised in California, so I didn't know that first part of Johnny's career.
Yeah, he had a rough upbringing.
Oh yeah, to say the least. I mean, to say it mildly, his mom was murdered. He was raised on the streets. They fought him like a pit bull. I mean, he had a very tough life.
So the book that's coming out, what is it called?
The Ghost of Johnny Tapia.
And when is that book going to be coming out?
November 12th.
November 12th, and where can people get it? Are you going to have a book signing? Are you going to?
Yes. All that will be coming out, soon, but it's going to be sold anywhere that books are sold.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to hear it. So in that book, it also showcases all the celebrity, because he was a celebrity.
Yes.
That was something to get used to too, right? As a wife.
Not really. I mean, to me, Johnny was the biggest celebrity, and my heart and the eyes were for him, and so anybody else was secondary. So I never really paid attention, and I don't mean it to sound cocky, but
No.
Johnny was my whole universe, so I didn't really pay attention.
And you know what, talking about celebrities, in the book it showcased that, you know, even Mr. T worked the corner for Johnny Tapia in Los Angeles in 1994, right?
We had Mr. T, we had Sammy Hagar, we had Mickey Rourke,
Mickey
we had
Rourke.
William Forsythe. I mean, you name it, we had him.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Tapia was a big deal.
Yes.
Big deal. So he had a real rough upbringing. Do you think his rough upbringing made him the champion he is?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because boxing's rough, right?
Boxing's rough, and, you know, people, they talk a lot about combative sports and how dangerous it is. To me, it was a safe haven because I knew where Johnny was, and I knew for those 10 or 12 rounds, I knew he was safe, and he was getting paid for it. You know, when I met him, he was always out on the streets. First date when I had with him, he took me to this bar. I wasn't even old enough to get in, and I remember I was just happy to get in a bar. I didn't know what was going on. By my third date with him, I kind of got a little bit wiser, and I went to the back because everybody was betting, and I didn't know what was happening. But what happened was he was actually fighting in an indoor beer cooler.
He was fighting
Yeah, he was fighting. He used to
on
fight.
your third date?
On our third date, but he did this all the time. But he would just come out with money and he'd say, let's go, let's go. And he'd have like bumps and bruises and cuts. Well, I remember that particular time because I actually went to the back and asked what was happening. And they said, Tapia's fighting. And I said, what do you mean? What is he doing? Why? And everyone was like, that's what he does. And so that particular fight, they dragged the guy out full of blood. Couldn't tell you any other details about the guy. I just remember leaving with Johnny, and he was in my car, and everybody was, before we got to our car, they were cheering him on. We get in my car, and he slumps over, and he's all, take me to a hospital. He had been stabbed. Because the only rules for that underground fights was you just couldn't use a loaded gun. You could use a gun, brass knuckles, knives, anything went. And Johnny was a champion there, too.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So he gets into the amateur fights. You're obviously right next to him in this amateur world. How many amateur fights did he have?
He had over 160 amateur fights, but I did not know him as an amateur fighter. I knew him when he got kicked out of. He was 21 and 0, I believe, as a pro. I met him a few years into his exile from boxing as a pro fighter.
As a pro fighter?
Yes.
So he gets into the pro business, right? So tell us, what does the day look like for Johnny Tapia and you? How would he prepare for a big fight? How was the day looking? And you know what? Let me tell you, we've had Ponce Leon here. We've had other pro fight, and it's a ritual. They get up, they get ready. I don't think Johnny was like that, right? It was a regular day party life for him.
Well, if Johnny wasn't in jail, our regular day consisted of, getting him up at a certain time and getting him ready for the fight. Biggest fight people like to know about is the Danny Romero fight.
Yeah.
And it's a funny fight because, well, it wasn't funny for me, but it was funny for them. But he didn't even have a trainer. He fired Emmanuel Stewart, the great Emmanuel Stewart, because he sent somebody in his place to train Johnny, and Johnny took it as a sign of disrespect. So we're 8 weeks out before the biggest fight of his life at that time.
Yeah.
And Johnny fires the guy. Then, it just was, he was gone all the time, MIA, didn't know where he was. Him and my brother were running the streets. Finally, I tried to pin him down. I had to go for a dress sizing in LA. I leave him and my brother at home, and I come back. My house is boarded up with plywood. And I'm like, what the hell? And the lady I'm with, she's a Christian lady, and I can't tell her what's going on. So I send her home, and I go in, and of course, Johnny's high. And we're talking now 5 weeks out to the Danny Romero fight.
He's high as a kite.
He's in a tree. Him and my brother are sitting
he's
in a tree.
literally high.
He's high. He's gone. This was my time this is our life, though. This is what I'm saying. It's funny now, but...
Yeah, but back then you went through all these emotions, roller coaster life. So...
Hector saw some of that behind the scenes.
And you know what? So this is 5 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait till it gets closer. What else happens?
He goes to jail for a few, and he gets out, and then I finally give in and call Bruce Trampler, the matchmaker for Top Rank, and I'm like, Bruce, we got a problem. Tell Bruce, he takes us to Vegas. We end up using Eddie Futch and Jesse Reed. Johnny looks like crap. Every sparring session, but he, you know what he said, and I'll always, it was all over the place broadcast. Johnny would say, if Danny beats me, I will kill myself. That's how I'm sure I am that I'm going to win this fight. Now, we're seeing the worst of him. So
and
imagine
you're like,
us.
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm watching Danny on TV, and
He looks prime condition.
Yeah, he's up there in 11,000 elevation, and he has all these trainers.
Drug free.
And I'm barely getting Johnny out of jail and getting him drug clean, But
so the 4 weeks, are you getting him drug clean? Are you sure?
Well, yeah, we're in Vegas, and they put us out in the middle of nowhere with no vehicle. That was Top Rank. They're like, you're not going to lose, because Top Rank was going against Cedric Kushner at that time, so it was a big deal. Johnny had to win. But you know what? I'll tell you what. When we walked in that ring, I had a whole row of prayer warriors, and they were just sitting there praying and fasting. That was their job. I hired, you name it, and I had every religion you could think of. That was their job. When Johnny walked into that ring, that first round, that first bell, I knew that it was going to be okay, because again, I don't know what the hell it was with Johnny, but he would surpass any expectation.
You said it surpassed.
Yes. And I sat there and I thought, wow, you know what? This is why he is who he is.
Exactly.
This is why he's the best. And this is why he will become a 5- and 6-time world champion, be a Hall of Famer. That night showed me everything I needed to know.
And you know what? You said it surpassed. We would see him on TV and he looked okay, but we really didn't know what happened before he got to the fight.
Exactly.
And he went through those drug-free, or he went through those cold turkey nights. So this is the biggest fight. He obviously goes into it, Danny Romero, and he performs.
Mm-hmm.
Top Rank loves him.
Yes.
What happens after that?
I don't know if they loved him, but they tolerated him. they
All right,
gave him a raise.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was Johnny got thrown out of New Mexico. We went to Big Bear, California.
Yeah.
Oscar De La Hoya, he opened camp for us. He's the one that actually changed Johnny's name from Babyface Assassin to Mi Vida Loca.
Okay, tell us about that.
You know Oscar. Well, do you know Oscar?
Yes.
Okay, so Oscar's a very smart guy. He takes care of himself.
Business guy.
Yes. Well, Johnny'd walk in the gym beat up every day, and Oscar'd say, Tapia, what the heck? What's wrong with you? And Oscar'd say, Johnny would be like, Oscar, I was in a fight. I got in a street fight. I was, these guys in the alley, and Oscar'd say, no, Tapia, Oscar. They would go back and forth. So after that, it became like 3 or 4 times where Johnny would come in all cut up, and Oscar would tell him, Tapia, you're no more me. You're not my babyface assassin. You're Mi Vida Loca. And Johnny would say, no, Oscar, I'm a babyface assassin. Anyway, Oscar got Johnny his very first deal with Bum Equipment, and he presented Johnny with a pair of trunks and said, Mi Vida Loca. From that point on, he was Mi Vida Loca.
Wow, man. So how did he get the babyface assassin? Because I hear it from another fighter too. With
that
the
Marco. Mm-hmm.
Marco Antonio Barrera. So,
Yes.
but how did and he fought him?
He did, and they both have the same surname, which is Tapia.
Yes, and because it's his mother's maiden
Yes.
name. So how did Tapia get that name, the babyface assassin?
It was given to him, when he was, and no disrespect to Marco, but I used to say Johnny was babyface assassin first.
That's what I was going to ask. Who came first?
It was Johnny, and because he had that look of a babyface. I mean, if you look at Johnny before all the street fights, he looked like a babyface assassin because he could take you out in the ring in any round with those body shots, and that's the name that stuck to him until Oscar changed it.
And you know what, man? That war with Barrera, that was a war. Good fight, I remember it, man.
You'll have to read the book. The very first couple of pages is Sammy Hagar describing that fight, which I'm glad it came from Sammy because Johnny never let me talk about it. Johnny
Why?
was injured. He couldn't even use his left
He was
hand.
injured in what round? It was all the fight?
Before he even fought, he couldn't even put his robe on. So everyone thought it was a new strategy we came up with because he was using his right hand, and Johnny's moneymaker was his left. Well, it was because he was injured, but he said he loved Barrera so much and he respected him so much that he would not let that win be taken from Barrera. And that came from Johnny. We had to zip it up and not talk about it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that came from Johnny. He was injured. How did he get injured? Was he injured on the sparring or just his crazy life?
Yeah, well, let's just stick to crazy life.
So, Johnny, at the end of his career, he starts dwindling down, correct?
Yes.
So he goes to Las Cruces, yes?
Yes.
One of the last times. Tell us what happened in Las Cruces. One of his last times. Did he get arrested in Las Cruces too?
No, he just did parole time here,
Parole
probation. He ended up in a coma here, or there in Las Cruces. But yeah.
Yes, that's what I was. Yeah. What happened in the coma? What did he do, or what was the deal with that?
Just Johnny being Johnny.
Okay.
He had to go see his probation officer. I tried to get him there, and he was like, I'm good. I went and took our kids to school. I come back. He's passed out on the couch. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Get up. We have to go, Johnny. And he's like, give me a minute. Then he wasn't talking, and I knew the probation officer appointment was coming. So I called the probation thinking, I'm stupid. I call them, and I'm like, can we change the appointment? They're like, no, we're going to come to you. Well, I didn't know I was making a red flag by doing that. They were on their way. Johnny was out of it. I finally, they get there, they see how out of it he is, and they're like, get him to a hospital. As I'm driving to the hospital, he literally just stops breathing. I flagged down a police officer. He saw the danger Johnny was in. He ends up in the hospital. He's in a coma. They don't know if he's going to make it. We come to find out that he had shot up a whole bottle of insulin, and nobody knew why or what was happening. First thing, though, I kid you not, 3 days later, we're in the hospital, in his hospital room, and he wakes up, and I'm like, oh my God, why did you do that? And he's all looking around. He's all, I'm not in jail, right? And I said, no. And he's all, it worked. I said, what the hell worked? He's all, I was dirty, and I didn't want to have a dirty urine, so I thought if I shot up, I'm like, Johnny, you could have died. He's all, but I didn't. It was a gamble, and I won. He's all, and I'm not in jail. So his logic was go to jail, maybe commit suicide, whatever, but that was his logic.
Mi vida loca. Exactly, yes. Mi vida loca. Irma Fernandez wants to know, Miss Tapia, are your children boxers?
They're actually dabbling in it. I've been the one to keep them out of it.
You don't want them to have
I don't. I just don't want that shadow that Johnny had. How do you fulfill those shoes?
And you know what? Maybe like Julio Cesar Chavez and Junior, it's hard to fill the father's shoes. That why you think they're going to not be successful?
No, because look at Floyd Mayweather. His dad was a fighter, and that guy surpassed anybody's dream, anybody's thoughts. Exactly. So no, it's not that. I just don't want them to live under that. How are they going to be? What's going to happen to them? And it's just me being a mama bear.
Of course. No, they don't fight at all.
They're training. We're arguing. It's weird. They were supposed to fight on the show, actually, and I closed it down because I didn't think their first fight should be on this show honoring Johnny, because it's a lot of pressure.
Oh, okay, smart. Yeah, you're right. So there it is. Lou Anello, Lou Anello. Now you're on Facebook Live. So, if you would compare one fighter to the great Johnny Tapia,
they will be both world, and
anybody right now?
Excuse me, Danny?
No, well,
Emil Griffith. I'm talking about like those guys. Okay. You know what I mean? They were like that. That was what it was about.
Okay.
And funny enough, his favorite fighter was actually what was his name? Arturo Gatti. That was
my favorite fighter.
Yeah, and you want to know a funny story with that?
Yeah.
They were both training with Buddy McGirt, and both of them disappeared on us, and they were never allowed to train again with each other.
Yeah, Arturo was a little bit crazy too, man.
Yeah.
He was off the wall.
You don't put crazy with crazy. We learned that the hard way.
Right. So, do you like any prize fighter right now? You're a boxing fan, obviously.
Triple G. I mean, there's a lot of good fighters out there.
But there's nobody that compares to Johnny Tapia. Herman,
not in my book.
Right? Of course not. Anybody? Who? Duran.
Oh, Roberto loved Johnny, and you know what? Johnny learned how to roll with his punches from Duran. So that's where he got his style. He watched Sugar Ray Leonard box, and he learned how to box from him.
Wow.
He learned how to go to the body from Chavez. He learned how to roll with his punches from Duran, and he learned how to be a warrior like Salvador Sanchez. Those were his favorite fighters.
Sanchez.
Yep, and he wrapped them all up and made it his own.
Teresa, boxing in the past, we talked about great bouts, just like your husband. He was involved in great wars. He made us all boxing fans. A little bit of his gym will have some Tapia in it, because I used to watch him a lot, and I said one of these days I'm going to be involved in boxing in whatever platform, right? The platform that I took, I was a ring announcer. That's how I started. And I was a ring announcer for Seferino Promotions. I did the David Rodriguez fights, and that's how I got in boxing. But I used to love Johnny Tapia, man. We've seen Barrera, Morales versus Pacquiao. The passion that Johnny Tapia had was very impressive, right?
Yes.
I feel that fights are not the same right now. The atmosphere, the glamour of the fighters. Do you think that boxing now has lost its momentum?
No,
as before?
And you know what it is? The MMA exploded on the scene, which is great. You know, I support MMA fighters, UFC, all that.
Yeah, contact sports.
Johnny would have been a great UFC fighter had he been early on, because he did it for free on the streets. You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
He invented it in the freezers of a bar.
He did. And like some of the greatest fights that never happened with Johnny, he has contracts signed to this day with Pacquiao at 122 and with Nassim Hamed. Those were, you know, two things that never happened because of other stuff in the business.
Okay.
Not because of Johnny, but, you know, things happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, I think boxing is kind of, because of the MMA explosion, it's taken a little bit of a hit, but they'll be back. I mean, you see these fighters and they are great, and they talk about him, and for like forever. Look at Johnny; they're making movies on him. There's books on him, and he's been passed on for 7 years, and it's like he's still here in people's hearts.
He's still here. You're right.
And I think boxers brand people like that, where all these other things come and go. There's always that fighter, like you brought up Duran. How old is Duran?
Yeah.
And we're still talking about him.
And we're still talking about him, and we will continue to talk about him.
Exactly, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali is still being talked about.
Exactly.
And we're going to continue from generation to generation talking about Mi Vida Loca.
Yes.
Right. So October 5th and 6th is the Johnny Tapia Invitational. Can you tell us about it a little bit more? I know Rue Stone talked about the details. Tell us about the event, what's going on, pro, amateur, what's happening.
So we're having a great event. It's going to start off on Saturday at 12 p.m. with the amateurs. We have fighters coming in from all over. I mean, all over Texas. We have them from Oregon, of course, New Mexico. People are just flocking to this, and I think it's just a great tribute to Johnny. And we're having the WBC that are sponsoring it, so we're very happy that Mauricio is involved in that. And then on Saturday night, we're having McCarty fight. We're having, and don't mess up, I can't say my Spanish words great, but we have a lot of great fighters on this show.
It's okay. We're live. We can do whatever we want. It's our podcast. Oh, well. Go ahead.
Well, it's just like I said, we have a lot of fighters from El Paso area and then from Las Cruces area. And just like I said, it's going to be a great show. Escalante was supposed to be on.
He was.
He was.
I was going to ask you about the pro card.
So
more?
No. Randy McCarty is now going to be the main event, and he's fighting Otero. And then we have the guy from Anthony, actually, one of your Juan. Jose, it's Gilliam. How do you say his last name? Gilliam?
Jose
Guillen. Yeah.
Guillen.
Yeah, he'll be on there.
Yep.
And we, just like I said, we have a lot of great fighters.
So let me ask you a question now. Did you be in New Mexico? Well, two. Well, plenty more. But why did you pick this venue, man? What was your correlation or relation with the racetrack? It's really, I mean, there's convention centers, there's coliseums. How did it come about being in a racetrack?
Actually, I can't say I chose it. It kind of chose me.
All right, great, man.
Rue and David Rodriguez actually set that whole thing up, and we started talking about it, and then the idea materialized, and then we, I met like the owner, Royal, and like I said, and Rue.
Which I think it's a great idea, man.
You know what? It's been great.
Outdoor event, and then October, it's nice weather.
And you know what? They're the best people, the most professional people to work with. They have their stuff down. I mean, these guys come to work. I'm talking about, like I said, all these guys, Rue, Royal, the whole team, Cassidy, all of them. Yeah, they come in to work.
So Teresa, what about, I mean, you're talking about New Mexico, real prideful. I mean, we're close-knit here. Did you ever consider even bringing another fighter like Austin Trout?
He's coming as a special guest.
Why not as a fighter?
I think he had another obligation.
We need to ask these questions. Why not as a fighter? What a great tribute to the cities. Austin Trout on the main event. Why not?
Hear that, Austin?
What a great... Yeah. Right, fighting on your own backyard. And now why not Austin Trout? I guess he has a commitment. I know he just fought, but...
That's my understanding, is he had a prior commitment.
Wow, and I know Jennifer Hahn can't. She's had a baby.
Yes.
Right? What about Mickey Roman? The great Mickey Roman. He just fought this Saturday and he won. But I mean, you want to see these pro fighters. I mean, Randy McCarty, great main event. I think he's gonna put some butts in seats. Mm-hmm. That's great, man. And then in the amateur card, we have some great kids, right?
We do.
And it's important. You know what's so awesome, Teresa, that in this card you're promoting amateur.
Yes.
Because that's where it all starts, man. These kids, man, and having that type of platform out there for the kids. It's all about the young professionals going out there. And a lot of these kids that are going to be participating come from broken homes, come from these tough backgrounds, and we need to give them chances. You know?
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, you know, here at the gym we have a mentorship program, and we help a lot of at-risk youth kids, man. You know, not just 8-year-olds, 9, 10, and up to 20 years old. So I mean, I thank you for doing that, man.
No,
That's
thank you.
awesome. Hey, Rue and the Vado, New Mexico Speedway, thanks for having us, having them, man, having our team. I got some kids also fighting, and you know, we're just blessed to have people like you guys putting shows like that.
Yes, I'm excited about it, and like you said, it starts with the youth.
Yeah, that's great, man, and I'm so glad that the WBC did it.
They are.
If we have more events that these big corporations are behind, a little piece of their stuff is awesome.
Well, that's what I love about the WBC. They see that, and they see that it starts somewhere. It doesn't just happen overnight. And they're probably the only organization on that level that I see that are getting involved on the youth level.
And the amateur.
Yes,
Because
that's what I'm saying.
I've seen those amateur belts and the medals, beautiful. Not the other organizations,
No.
but the WBC.
And they are giving us belts for this event. It's going to
Awesome,
be great.
man. Awesome. What else, Teresa? On booths, on spaces, who do they call? What can they, if we want to put a booth out there for a gym to support fitness, racing, whatever, what can they do?
All that information is at the Vado Speedway website, and then they can go to my Facebook for information as well. They can go to Johnny's, but everything's on there and out there, and like I said, we're all happy to accommodate anybody.
Do you plan to make this show annually?
That's our plan right now.
And is it going to be at the racetrack?
That's what we envision, yes.
Great, man. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure. Any last words for your fans out there? Rue, anything you want to add for the show? I mean,
Just want to tell everybody to come on out and support all the fighters.
yeah, and you know what? You're going to have celebrities too, right? You
We
might
are.
have some local celebrities and also boxing celebrities.
Yes.
Great. And of course, our guest of honor, Rue Stone. You going to be the ring announcer?
No, you are. You didn't know that, but we signed you up.
Oh, my God, man. Did you put me up to
Yes.
this? Well, it's going to be great, man. I'm so-
JC said you're on. You're on.
Man, so great to have you on the show, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been
Thank
my
you
pleasure.
so much, man. And we will see you folks October the 5th and 6th. The Johnny Tapia Southwest Explosion at the Vado Speedway Park. 2-day event is going to be boxing, music, food, special celebrity guests, vendors, car show, bike run, kids jumpers, mechanical bulls, and much more. It's going to be fun for the entire family. You know what? The best thing of it all, it's affordable, man. Only $15 for adults, $5 for kids under 12, free admission for kids 3 and under, and it's going to be very secured. So, folks, make it out a trip. Put it on your calendars right now. And this has been my podcast. Teresa, thank you so much for being on the show. We thank you. We can't wait for that book. We're going to love to have that book, and let us know about the book signing. But again, for more information, go to www.vadospeedwaypark.com, and you can listen to this podcast on my website, www.warriorsedgeboxing.com, home of Warriors Edge Boxing. And shout out to Brandon Shure, number 21. Go racing. Is he going to race this Saturday, Rue? He's going to be racing. We'll be out there as well supporting him. So, folks, like I've always said at the end of my podcast, anything you do in life, put God first. This has been my podcast. I am LT on the Wheels of Steel. Good night, folks.